There are a lot of reasons that individuals get stuck in the in-between in their death transition. If you've been following this for a while, you've heard many examples. And today I want to share one that was a little unusual, kind of came out of left field. I didn't expect it, but it was a great reminder of how impactful the in-between can be. So let's jump into that today. If you are new to the channel, please click subscribe and the notification button because I don't want you to miss any of these videos. In this series, we are very focused on the crossing over process, what happens to individuals when they pass and they cross over to go home to the other side. And I love giving examples. Now, I myself, if you haven't gotten to know me yet, my name is Bo. I have been doing crossing over work for like 15 years now, I think. Most of the crossing over work I do in my day-to-day life when I come across somebody who is in spirit form and struggling to finish their transition to the other side. It's one of my callings, one of my jobs to help them to cross over. How do you do that? In essence, you do that with unconditional love, a little bit of patience and some tools that you can use that are pretty much helpful in most every case. This community was built for a purpose. This community gathers individuals who connect with spirits, who do crossing over work. And if you're interested, if you want to connect with others, we do have the Otherside Chats community, which is the spiritual community where we get a little bit deeper into some more unusual crossing over situations, have group chats with the crossing over team. And then if you are the type of individual that just loves to learn, I would highly suggest looking into the Crossing Over course. It's a 6-hour course. It's inexpensive. It's not overdone, but there really is that much information in it on the process of crossing over. And if this is your path, if this is where you're headed, there's going to be so many tidbits in there that you're going to gain that are going to be perfect for you. Now, in that course, in the community, in these sessions, like I said, I like to share examples that I walk through, and I want to share one of the more interesting ones that I experienced. I remember thinking this is a really unusual, didn't see this coming. Now, when you do crossing over work, in essence, you're interacting with spirits who are going home. They've passed, they've shed the physical body, but they haven't shed the programming body, which is the mind on linear time. They also haven't shed the spiritual body. As a result, they are in the in-between, and they are the exact same person that they were on Earth as they are in the in-between right now. They just don't have a body. In addition to this, when you don't have the physical body any longer, you're not limited by linear time. You're also not limited by the human restrictions of what might actually be around you, meaning sometimes in the in-between, there can be very strong confusion. People ask, well, are spirits really stuck and confined to one home or one house, that they're stuck there? They're stuck there because that's part of their confusion. That's part of what they're trying to process through. What I'm trying to say here is that when a spirit, a soul is stuck in their transition, it can be confusing. It can be disorienting, and some of the belief structures and what a spirit is thinking and focusing on can come into fruition for them in their immediate environment. Meaning, if a spirit believes they're stuck in a home, they're going to be. If a spirit believes that they're hanging out in a park in New York, they're going to be. If a spirit believes that they're burning in hell because the organization that they associated with told them that, then they're gonna feel like they are going to hell. The in-between, because we don't have that physical body, is very much a manifesting playground. So with that said, I've heard a lot of different things from people in the in-between who are stuck. People that believe different things just because that's what their intent is causing them to experience in the in-between. Now, this one was really interesting because I was never able to get down to the bottom of it. It takes a lot for me at this point to want to actually Google something like after the fact, or actually look into, maybe look something up. I've done so much crossing over work, so much mediumship work at this point, I couldn't look everything up. It just doesn't work that way. But this one, I was like, yeah, I need to look this up. This was a few years ago, and it was a male in spirit form, and he was stumped. I could tell that I could see him pacing, and he was literally outside. There wasn't even a location that I could give you. It wasn't near a ballpark. It wasn't near a house. It was just a field. And I was maybe half a mile outside of town walking. That's it. That's all. I mean, there was nothing distinct. And I saw him, and he was just pacing back and forth, and I could feel the energy coming off of him. And when you do crossing over work and you interact with spirits, it's not always everything you see. Sometimes you feel what they're feeling, which is an intuitive message as well. I'm not sharing energetic space with them, but I'm getting the message of what they're feeling. Or sometimes you might hear something, smell something, or even taste something as well. And I got a visual of him. I could tell that something was happening. So I took a moment I just stopped walking for a bit, and unassuming road, barely any cars that would ever go down this road, and just field. I'm sure it was somebody's property or something like that. And I stopped and I turned my attention because I could feel this sort of pacing energy of a spirit. And I felt that he was stuck. I knew that because I could feel the worry coming off of him and the confusion, absolute confusion. And it was like this panicked confusion. So I did what I do. I stopped, took a deep breath, GCP, ground clear protect, put that around for sure with the intent of helping. And I said, I'm here. And I kind of like disoriented him a little bit because he was not focused on me or anything around him. He just seemed to be focused in on this other thing. And I said, you're crossing over, are you stuck? And I started to ask those questions in my head. Please know that you're loved. And he like sharply interrupted me. And I remember hearing him a lot more than I could see him. So I probably couldn't even describe him in too much detail other than feeling like he might have been like disheveled and, sort of a wreck, but I could hear him very clearly. Every spirit is going to interact differently. And this one I could hear, and I heard him say, I'm not in there. I'm not in there. And I'm like, where are you not in? Like, where? And he's like, you're not getting it. And it was it was a bit of a lack of communication, like because he was stuck in the in-between, because I'm seriously anchored in this agreed upon human world. It was this feeling of, okay, I'm not understanding what he's saying. He's trying to explain to me, but it's not working. This does happen when you do crossing over work. So this is another good reason to give you this example. And I remember just saying, I don't understand, because he just kept repeating the same thing over and over, which is a pattern for individuals that are working to remain stuck and not finish their transition. He just kept saying over and over, I'm not in there, I'm not in there, I'm not in there. And so I thought, okay, I have to shift gear. There's a teaching moment for you right there. If you're not sure, shift gear. And so I shifted gear. Instead of asking him what he said or asking him to repeat it again, I started to say, show me. Show me. Because if you know me at all, if you've been following me at all, you'll know one of my favorite questions to ask spirits, guides, loved ones is, what do you want me to know? That question, albeit a very simple question, is an absolute game changer for spiritual communication. Stuck, not stuck, guide, loved one, energy, doesn't matter. The question is, what do you want me to know? And so I went with show me, show me, show me. And all of a sudden I could see this empty box. It was long, and I went, oof, I've watched enough movies. This looks to be like an empty coffin. Is this a coffin? And he's like, yes. And the minute I clicked into understanding what he was stuck on, the information started to flow. I started to see more and more and more. And I saw this empty coffin. It was already underground. It was in there. And I said, are you saying that you're not in the coffin? He said, they didn't put me in there. And he was very upset about this. So I said, that's okay. Let's focus on some other things. Who's your family? Is there anyone on the other side? What did you do for a living? And this kind of refocusing starts to shake loose some of the kind of stuck energy. And he started to let go a little bit. And these are tough because when a spirit is stuck in the in-between with the purpose of trying to fix something here on the earth before they go, they are focused in their human mind, not in their spiritual being. And so what you need to do is shift them from the human mind to the spiritual being. The best thing I could do is just say, okay, oh, your grandmother's on the other side. I don't even remember at this point because it was a little while ago who was on the other side, but I remember referencing them and saying, what did you used to talk about? What did you used to do with them? And then his focus started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember feeling, I didn't see, but I felt the kind of symbolic feeling of him taking a deep breath and letting it go. And I remember just sending him like love, saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then watching him, go to the other side. But while this didn't unfold the way I maybe would have wanted it to, here's another great example, another reason to share this example with you. While it didn't unfold necessarily the way I wanted it to, like, hey, where's the grave? Hey, maybe we could contact someone. Hey, maybe we could dig some, like it's the beginning of a really great mystery, right? That could get uncovered. And yes, that afternoon I did Google it because I was like, well, has this ever happened? And I found a lot of things that, yes, this has happened in the past, that, coffins have gotten down, without anyone in them, and then they ended up being cremated or something like this. And I had to accept, and this is part of the crossing over process, I had to accept this wasn't my story to tell. This wasn't my story to investigate. This wasn't my story to dive into. My only job was to come across this gentleman and help him to continue on his transition to the other side, which I'm grateful that I was able to do. But man, did it spark my human curiosity. I'm not in there. I'm not in there. And then when I finally realized where he's not in, then I realized they didn't put his body in the coffin. This is fascinating. But my fascination, not so important. Helping him cross over, very important. And this is something that does happen. They'll throw you for a loop and something you would have never expected. The reason why they're stuck, because the reason's important to them, not you. Them, not me, them. And it is important to them because they're a person, they're a soul. And you know how I feel. Ghosts are people too.